Lovesick blind. Why do I climb these heights for you? Twisted news always gets my shit confused. What's a man have to prove? Do I have to walk the night for you? Every mountain I've climbed, there's a valley low. For every highway I ride, there's a rocky road. She's got me beat, she's got me broken, right down to my soul. Drunk and young, I asked to walk you home, but an aloof response had me on my own without you. I stumble on, all alone, with DMVs. Where are you gone? On repeat in my dome, so blue. She's got me beat, she's got me broken, right down to my soul. She's got me beat, she's got me broken, right down to my soul. You pick me up, don't you know you got a hold on me? It brings me down in only ways that you can see. You keep me close, then you go ahead and run from me, and hit me up when you're lonesome and need company. Wayward mind, lost it blind. Why do I climb these heights for you? Every mountain I've climbed, there's a valley low. For every highway I ride, there's a rocky road. She's got me beat, she's got me broken, right down to my soul. She's got me beat, she's got me broken, right down to my soul. You've got me beat, you've got me broken, right down to my soul.
There we go. Now we got power and mics and everything. Welcome, episode 63, Armchair Chirpers. I'm Les Vaders with Brian Hawley. Brian, how you doing tonight?
I'm great, man. I'm great. Yeah, following. We got a lot of stuff to talk to.
Yeah,
Got a young fella in visit with us. I'll let you do the.
yeah. We're missing Razor tonight. He's on the Avon or something, trying to get his boat license.
He's doing. I think it's called the Power Squadron.
Yeah,
So I don't know. I'm worried about him because before you learn how to boat, you should probably learn how to swim.
yeah. I told him don't drink the water.
Oof. Yeah.
At least it's just on the Avon. He's close to shore.
I'm just, these days I'm surprised the Avon doesn't like eat away at the bottom of that boat.
He might be able to walk on it to get over.
I can't believe we swam in that thing in the 70s.
I know. First of all, I want to thank Reboot Repair for all their help in the setup and everything. Cam and Dylan do a great job here. 155 Erie Street, unit number 5. Come and see them when you can. Before we get to our guest, I'm just going to play a little clip here. I had it all set up, and then I checked something else and closed it off. And oh, we're going to have to restart that one.
Sends it across. Right, what a save by Carter McDougall. He put the paddle back, keeps it under the net. Carter McDougall. Wow. Bogart over to the
Carter McDougall, I called that the save of the playoffs. You called it the save of your life. Joining us, goaltender for the Stratford Hunter Steel Warriors, Carter McDougall. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So that save, was that the highlight of your career, maybe?
Yeah, for sure the best save of my career, and yeah, a pretty big moment.
We sure brought the crowd out of their seats, that's for sure. Game 6,
Yeah.
and the place was packed. You're welcome, by the way. Yeah, it was. I thought for sure it was a goal, and that came right after Hunter made a huge save at the other end too, a big left pad save at the other end. I can't remember who was on. Might have been Goalie. But then they came down and came right back at you, and you got the paddle down on them. So that was.
Yeah,
that
I got
was
I got another clip. We'll do it a little later. At little brotherly love we'll talk about later. So Carter, you started out from St. Mary's, local kid. You played for the here in Perth Lakers for a number of years, actually.
Yeah, eight total years.
8 total years. But started your junior B career in Listowel. How did that happen?
Yeah, my major midget year, it was that COVID year, so they couldn't practice, but they'd have skates once in a while, and they asked me to come out, and so I was skating with them throughout COVID, just a couple practices, and they were just kind of the first team that offered me a spot, and I mean they had great success in the late 2017, 2018. I don't know what year they won the Southern Cup there, so they had a good resume, very nice room, so it was kind of easy decision for me to go there.
The most important thing is the room.
Yeah.
A nice new barn too, right? So
Yeah. So you played 2 seasons in Listowel, correct?
Yeah, 2 full seasons.
2 full seasons in Listowel. You were with who was your tandem?
My first year, Dixon Grimes.
Yeah.
And then my next year was Riley Arts.
Riley Arts. Yeah, Dixon Grimes still plays good net.
Yeah, he's a pretty good goalie.
He is a good goalie. Arts, he's still, I think is he done now in Listowel, or is he still got a year left? I'm not sure.
You have to double check that. Last year, didn't Arts win the goalie of the year?
Last year,
first
yeah.
team All-Star, or
Yeah.
whatever that was.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a
Even
good
though
team the year before.
He doesn't get a sniff in the playoffs.
Yeah.
They go all the way to the Southie, win the Sutherland Cup, and he doesn't get a sniff, even though he's the goalie of the year.
Yeah.
Because they brought that was Grimes, right?
Yeah, Grimes come in. Yeah, they brought him back. So he played. And then you got a cup of tea in your hometown of St. Mary's.
Yeah, that's right.
What did you get traded there, or was that a free agent move?
Yeah. Whatever. My time in Listowel was kind of done. I thought I wanted to go home, play close to home, so that opportunity came up, and then I ended up getting traded to St. Mary's.
How did you find out about the trade?
I kind of had an idea. I went to Listowel and talked to them about a few things, and just kind of realized it's probably not where I wanted to be anymore. So I asked for a trade to St. Mary's. So I kind of had an idea it was coming, and then just one day got the phone call from Pat Powers there in St. Mary's, and told me I'm a Lincoln.
So then you play 8 games with St. Mary's, and then you get traded again.
Yeah.
How did that one come about?
Yeah, that in St. Mary's, I just wasn't playing my best, and they wanted to go in a certain direction, and maybe weren't willing to wait around for me to figure out my game, so they let me go, and luckily enough, I landed in a great place in Stratford.
Yeah, Stratford they were coming off their Cherry Cup championship the year before. Then we picked you up. We had Matthew Purdue out in front of you. So you knew you were coming in as the number 1B, as I called them at the time.
Yeah.
Matthew Purdue, one heck of a goalie, playing in Newman College.
Yeah, that's right.
He's in Newman College right now. So you get 9 games that season, and then, if people that don't know, we got into the playoffs there, and Stratford made it through Brantford, and then they played Elmira, made it through Elmira, and then something happened that forced you to step into the line of fire. You played 1 game in the playoffs in that Brantford series.
Yeah, half a game.
Yeah, you came in after Purdue got shell-shocked in Brantford the one night, and you came in. It was just a bad game all around that night for everybody.
Brantford was tough on you that series. They were there. What was the name of that goalie?
Leonard Neese.
Leonard Neese.
Yeah.
That played for Cambridge
Who's
last
now
year.
for Cambridge, yeah.
Yeah, he was at the World Juniors.
Yeah, the
there.
big German goalie.
Yep.
He's a big boy.
He stole a game against Fort Erie in the first round.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I remember that's the birth year of the Big Goal Cole show, because he showed up in those playoffs and scored a lot of big goals that year. So then Purdue has to go for an appendectomy surgery. And when did you find out that you were all of a sudden thrust to be the man?
I can't remember exactly, but I think Matt, he shot me a text, and I was just kind of thrown off, and then I think we maybe had practice that night. So, and then the coaches and Nelly, they talked to me, so kind of had a heads up before game 1.
Yeah, and then you're going into Listowel, so you're going back to the place where you started your junior career. And they had a big team, very talented team that year. O'Donnell and Burkett and Urick brothers, and they were destined for big things. So you go in, and another, people might not know this, but you go in and you face 205 shots over that series, and you make 188 saves. So you played 6 games because we were out in 5, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Out in 5. So you only played 6 games, but you had a .917 save percentage. Like, you got peppered. Like, I remember, because we went up to that, we were standing down in the corner for those games, and I kept saying to the guys in the corners, I said, he should get the playoff MVP just for what he went through. Coming out of nowhere, Purdue's hurt, and you got to come in and do that. What was that series like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was fun to get in. I wish Matthew got to play that last series. It's tough to see a 20-year-old go out like that, but yeah, I hadn't played in a while, just wanted to keep it simple, and I mean, I had a lot of blood in the fight playing my old team, my old friends, so it was pretty easy to get up. You're in the Cherry Cup final, like, there's no time to wait around, like, you got to get into it right away. And I mean, yeah, I know we didn't necessarily do what we wanted to do, but I thought I played pretty well and kind of started building confidence off those games coming into this year. Yeah, so I think that series kind of set me up to have a good year this year.
Yeah, because I know you and we talked after that game you lost in Listowel, and you guys were put out, and you said it's not the last that you'll see of me in Stratford. So you pretty much knew right away you wanted to come back.
Yeah, I was hoping. I mean, it's a top tier organization. I don't know why I wouldn't want to come back. Yeah,
it's right from board of directors down, Jason Clark, Nick Parr, and all those guys. The coaching staff's fabulous. You guys are lucky when you play in Stratford.
Yeah.
You could have brought your little brother or little big brother with you too if you wanted.
Yeah.
He ended up in St. Mary's. So you come back for another year. At first you started out with Aiden Hill backing you up. Then Aiden was moved on to Mitchell to get some more playing time because everybody, we pretty much knew you were going to run with the ship this year. It was going to be pretty much on your back. And then they brought in Chase Furlong, a kid out of Thunder Bay. He's a good goalie.
Yeah, he's a pretty good goalie.
He pushed you a lot, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he's hell of a goalie. I mean, you seen it. He got the call up with Erie. And, just an amazing goalie. I think the best part about him is just his demeanor. He's so calm. Like, going into games, you wouldn't even you wouldn't even know he's playing. Just he's in there calm and makes some incredible saves.
He's who does he remind you of, Brian? Watching Furlong play net.
Well, you put me on the spot there. I like his lateral movement. I like the way he goes side to side in the net. Evan DeBrouwer is really good at that, the goaltender of the Stratford Jets. I'm not sure I'm ready to put Chase up at that upper echelon of an All-American just yet, but he reminds me of DeBrouwer, the way he goes side to side. His lateral motion's really, really good. The first time we saw him was in air.
Yep.
Not your best moment.
No.
But in fairness to everyone, the team in front of him was not good. And so he came in somewhere, either started the second or in the second or something like that. And he stood on his head, man. That could have been a 9-0 hockey game. And he. So I was up there for the uninformed. I was up there with Les helping him out on the call. So there I was in that little Les Nessman cubicle, calling the game, and this kid comes in, and he just showed up that day or the day before. Had he even practiced with you? I can't remember. He just got there.
I don't think he had a practice, so that's why I felt so bad. His first game with us was coming in for relief.
First time on the ice as a Warrior is in a game, and it's down 4 or 5-0 in air on an air team that was just firing on all cylinders that night. So yeah, he really impressed the heck out of me. He was up there in the top 5 in save percentage and goals against, albeit against some competition. But no, I really thought he was going to push you for a starting spot in the playoffs. I think I may have said on this podcast at one point, don't be surprised if this kid keeps putting up ridiculous numbers. As much as junior teams love their 20-year-olds, don't be surprised if this kid's blowing hot. They may go after him for the playoffs.
Yeah.
But no, you wrestled that job back away from him, and I thought it was the right decision. And the good news was that he's such a good goalie. He was there for you if you needed any backing up, and that was the case in the Chatham series.
Yeah.
Now this year you were it was a young team, very young team. You started out with 16 rookies. Your defensive core in front of you, you had Hayden Frayne was pretty much the lone veteran back there to start, I think.
Wilson.
Wilson. Yeah, we saw. Yeah, that's right. Well, we brought Aiden Wilson in, so he came in. So you had 2 veterans, and the rest were rookies. Like Drayson Campbell and Joe Curtin. The way they played this year, you would have thought they played together their whole life in front of you.
Yeah. I mean, they came in, kind of found a little chemistry right away, and kind of just ran with it.
And then Drew Hodge had a phenomenal breakout year for himself. He probably one of the most underrated defensemen on the team. Aaron Green played well back there, and it was a big defensive core, but it was defense by committee. And then we brought in Matthew Blake, another big body out in front of you, to try and get some bodies off of you after the trade deadline, because they were crashing the net along. After Christmas, I noticed they started to really get into your kitchen, and I noticed you were the type of goalie, if you let in a bad goal, you didn't want the guys coming back talking to you.
Yeah, I don't know. I just, I know I let the goal in. I know there's nothing you can change. I know sometimes it's my fault. Sometimes they're just trying to say, my bad, but just on to the next one. It's kind of my mindset. Worry about the next shot. No time to think about the one you let in.
And then every now and then you'd make a big save that would just keep the team in the game sometimes. Like you kept Stratford in quite a few games this year against big opponents. Low scoring. Like, you got to remember, we played Chatham at the beginning of the year, and they were 2-1 games. And everybody said we were going to get blown out because Chatham was scoring 14 goals against other teams, right? And we go in there and it's 2-1. And the next game Chatham would play, and they'd be 13 goals. I'd be going, what the heck's going on? But so you get through the year, you get to Christmas, things are going on. You're still in the race there in Stratford, even with the young team, and you're having a great year. Chase he's pushing you. He's got some shutouts. He didn't play against any of the real big teams. I think, Brian, you went through that and sort of muddled out that stat,
he didn't
right?
Really have a start. He didn't have a win against a top 4 team, but he was killing everybody else. So that was the thing, and that's pretty standard operating procedure for a lot of teams. You get the backup in as often as you can. Not everybody runs like St. Mary's where they just flip-flop the guys all year long. The 1B or the backup or whatever term you want to use will generally play against the lower seeded teams, and the number one guy will go up against the top teams. But like I said, Furlong was absolutely killing it. I was actually looking for Stratford to, just give him a shot. Give him a shot against a St. Mary's or a Chatham, just to see how the team would react. But, Willie knows what he's doing, and he's pretty consistent with how he operates. So.
Yeah, I think his best game of the year, in my opinion, actually was down in Chatham. So I think we lost 2-1, but like he stood on his head. Like we could have lost 10-1.
Yeah,
And
he made some big saves.
Yeah, he did play a couple of those teams. Like, didn't he play against St. Catharines?
Yeah.
In that morning game at
in the showcase or whatever they call
which
it.
I understand is no more.
Which, the morning games or the showcase?
The showcase itself.
Oh, really?
Hopefully. I don't know if that
Got a
for
scoop
fact,
there, do
but
you, Les?
well, I heard something that maybe they won't come back with it because certain things. But that morning game,
Is anybody going to miss it if they stop doing it? Yeah.
I don't think we were on the bus pretty early that morning. It was
Yeah, I think both games were
morning games. Yeah, because on the Saturday morning game, or Friday morning game, I had said to somebody, "There's more media and scouts in here than there are fans."
Yeah, I didn't even get to make that one.
That's right.
I had an exam that morning, so I couldn't even come on the trip.
Yeah.
Was it Caledonia?
Yeah, in Caledonia.
I don't know how they draw. I'm not sure they draw real well. And best of times, to be honest with you, but
Not for a 10 o'clock, 9:30 game.
Not a 10 o'clock game between two teams that ain't Caledonia, that's for sure. I remember talking to Brandon Boyd at one point, president of the Lincolns, and he's like, "We're driving up to Caledonia to play London."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, at least you go up there and you play. You guys got to play St. Catharines and
Port Colborne.
Port Colborne.
Port
So
Colborne.
you guys had a tough weekend against two teams, but two teams you aren't going to see all year long. So it's kind of like going to a tournament. When you were growing up, you go to Ottawa for a tournament and play London, play Kitchener. It's like we drove 6 hours to play a team half an hour from us. So that's what St. Mary's was saying too. So I get what they're trying to do with that showcase, but I think all of the good things that the GoJHL is doing right now to promote their league and their players, I don't think they need that showcase anymore. I think they're doing a good enough job. Look at all the guys that are getting called up either during the season or after the season or after the team gets put out. How many guys are going up to the O? They got guys in the queue, So like I said, it's a neat thing, but I don't know. If they stop doing it, I would understand why.
Yeah, I don't know if it's necessary. Did you play the Port Colborne game?
Yeah.
Yeah, that what was his name?
The Russian kid?
The Russian Sirov.
I don't know his first name, but
yeah.
Sarah.
Vasily
Sirov.
Yeah.
He had a shot on him.
Yeah, he scored the tie
goal and the OT winner.
Yeah.
Because I remember you had that weird goal down at your home end. Puck bounced all over the place and got by you somehow. And
yeah. I
somebody shot it back. It's almost like that goal Aiden Wilson scored on you this year.
Oh.
If Aiden's listening, Aiden, that was a heck of a shot from the circle on a turnaround.
He read the scouting report, right? Low on the glove side.
Yeah, he picked the spot pretty good on that one.
Yeah, for people that don't know about this one in Chatham during the playoffs, Aiden Wilson picked the puck at the top of the circle and spun around and trying to fire it behind the net, and he put it right through.
He missed.
And you got a piece of it though.
Yeah. I wasn't ready for it. Kind of hit me. Tried fall, but no luck.
So
Quinn Kiffer made up for it though when he scored those two from center.
Yeah,
oh
we
my
got
goodness,
some back.
That was just a weird game.
Oh, it
that
was.
whole night was a weird night
Yeah.
with those hostile people from Chatham.
The hostile environment.
Oh my goodness.
It's a weird that net down at the Zamboni end. If you looked at it wrong, did it pop off the moorings?
Yeah, it's crazy, and I think the whole league should drill like we do at the Almond. You've seen it in St. Mary's Game 7.
It became a joke
there.
with Wexstrom.
Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah.
But we've talked about that ad infinitum on this show, and the Go wants to make some changes, and they will make some changes, but you cannot mandate a city-operated rink to drill a hole in the concrete. You know what I mean? So hopefully something will be better there, because once you've got a goalie who decides he's going to knock it off, And the irony, of course, being that once Wexstrom was knocking it off and everybody was sick of Wexstrom knocking it off, there goes Nico Armelin doing the same thing at the other end. In Game 7, they're up in Game 3, or they're up in the third period in Game 7, and he knocked it off 3 times in the period, and one was clearly on purpose. But the referee wasn't given penalty. I mean, I don't know if there's a no rule. I'm hearing conflicting reports there, whether there's no actual rule for delay a game for a goaltender to knock it off. A defenseman can get a delay a game penalty. I've also heard a rumor that the referees are mandated to not call delay of game penalty when the goalie knocks it off. I don't know. I don't know what the truth of it is, but
so as a goalie in those rinks, you know how hard you can push off those nets, right?
Yeah, and the problem there is though, they're pretty good until you lose it once, and then it just once you lose it the first time, they just come off that much easier, and sometimes it's just
like you could understand why the bigger goalies like Wexstrom and yourself, a bigger goalie, pushing off those nets that they pop out so easily.
Yeah. I mean, and sometimes you got to get from point A to point B. You got to use the post, so you got to put some weight into it. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of ruins the flow of the game, I think. And
agreed.
I mean, we seen Game 1 in Chatham there. It would have been nice if that net would have stayed on. But
yeah, that's. So you were right there. We'll talk about it in a bit. We'll talk about that goal. I just want to go back to something I wanted to bring up. So this year, that when they changed the alignment, and you saw that St. Mary's was now in our conference, and your big little brother playing for St. Mary's, that first game in St. Mary's, you were home for dinner that night, right?
Yeah.
What were the rules set out by Mom before that?
Mom said no fighting. That was pretty much it. Go hard at each other, but no fighting.
Because one of the weirdest plays that I saw all year long was Game 2 in Stratford. I believe it was December 8th. It is significant because it was the last regular season game that St. Mary's lost in regulation.
So I got that clip.
I assumed that's the one you're going.
Yeah.
So while you were looking for it, I'm just kind of queuing it up here.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, none of us saw it. Because none of us saw the goal. Because we all thought.
Yeah. I'll play that, and you guys listen to that, and then we'll ask Carter about it.
Dropped out front, Stratford lost it. Now comes across. McDougall with the shot. It's his brother on the way by. Now they're getting after it. Now they're talking. Now they're pushing and shoving between the brothers. And Stratford scores! Stratford comes the other way and scores on a shot. What a goal! Hudson Binder with the shot. I was too busy watching the brothers face off against here down at the far end. McDougall's got quite a few words for his brother. Wow.
All right, so tell us about that, because that got interesting pretty quick.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't remember the play quite clearly.
Haji
but-
fanned on the clearing pass.
Oh, I just remember he had I think he's the one that shot it.
Yeah.
He had a little scoring chance, and all game he just kept running. And I've never got ran into more by a player than my own brother. It seemed like every time he was in the O-zone, I was getting clipped or something. And so I was just worried about not letting him score. And then puck got by me. I forget what happened. And then he hit me. I kind of stood up and just looked at him, and then he gave me one back, and I said, let's go. I said, let's go. And we just started chirping, and next thing I knew, I looked down, and Binder was ripping the pill. So I'm glad we didn't go.
Yeah, because if you would have went that puck, then that was the 2-2.
Yeah,
that was the 2-2 tie. That was 2-2, and then you guys went on a 4-2 win. That was a big win in front of a big crowd.
Yeah, and that was the first night we got the new jersey.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you about that too. You went from the old the Warriors patch back to the original red jersey with the Chief silhouette on it. What did you think of those jerseys?
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty special. Like, I
how did the Nick Parr and that set it up for you guys? Because there was hush hush. I had heard about it. I was told not to say anything about it. I knew they were coming. I just didn't know when.
Yeah, I think it was the night before that game. We got a text to be at the rink a little earlier that day than normal, and guys kind of started chatting within, and we thought it was maybe coming, and so then we had a little meeting, and Parsi and Clarkey, showed us the jerseys, kind of told us the history behind the jersey and all that stuff. And like for you guys, not old guys, but
You can say it. Go ahead and say
older
it.
guys, like
We're old.
it'd be pretty cool for you guys to see it. And yeah, it was. I liked them because I thought they looked great, but I know for the town of Stratford, it means a lot to get that logo back, kind of. And it was cool to get the reds, and then later in playoffs get the whites.
Yeah, because Nick said he tuned into the broadcast because he wanted to hear my reaction to you guys coming out, because I knew you guys were going to come out, but I didn't know the feeling I was going to get. And I said to Brian was on the broadcast that night, and I said to Brian, I got goosebumps because that brought back all the memories of the olden days. And you come out first, and it was just like, wow, look at those jerseys are just so sharp.
Yeah, and we did I remember, because we were playing St. Mary's, that's right. And we came out, we had red socks on, but we had our blue jerseys on, so we kind of looked
for
a little
warm-up,
silly. And all my buddies on St. Mary's, I remember they were yelling across the red line, like telling me how dumb our jerseys look and stuff. I was just like, oh, you just wait.
Oh, so there was a little chirping back there because you guys come out with the Hunter Steel jerseys on because you wanted to save the Warrior, the old Cullinan jerseys, or the Chief logo jerseys for the game.
So I just want to ask you about the St. Mary's situation now, the realignment as Les mentioned. Did you guys, I'll say you guys in the collective, not just you, but St. Mary's as well, like when you got on the ice, did you guys have an idea, was there any feeling on the ice of the rivalry that was sprouting at the time? Like, was there anything that happened either in the first game or games subsequent that started that up, or was it just more of a kind of a regular thing?
Well, for me, I'll
Well,
speak
for you,
for me
you got the brother
personally.
there, obviously,
I used to play there, had the brother there, so it's my hometown. So it was a big game for me, and then for the team, it was kind of worked out that we were both two of the top teams in our conference. So naturally, it's going to be a good game because you're going against the best. And then when you take into consideration that we're 15 minutes down the road, I think just naturally it's going to be a big game, be a big rivalry. Coming from St. Mary's, I just remember growing up, you kind of always hated Stratford for no reason, but so I think it was bound to be a rivalry. And I mean, two great fan bases, probably two of the best in the league, and just so close, so it makes for some fun hockey.
Yeah, because those first two games we played in St. Mary's and Stratford in October, was it? So that was like
late October,
late
early November.
yeah.
So I wanted to talk about the first one in St. Mary's because that one shocked the heck out of me because I knew it was going to be a good crowd. But, I mean, we're talking about a junior B hockey game in early November, late October, game 12 of 50, and the barn is packed. There were almost 1,300 people there.
Yeah, and the thing about that game, you guys had just come off a perfect September. You guys had not lost the game in September.
Yeah, that's right.
And neither had St. Mary's.
Yeah, I think
and neither had St. Mary's. Yeah, two undefeated teams about that time. I don't know if you lost.
We would have lost to Ayr.
You lost to Ayr. That's right.
Ayr,
The first, first loss to Ayr. Yeah.
And so, St. Mary's went on about an 11-game heater or whatever it was, 14 maybe to start the season. But that was like coming out there. So was that? So you played as a Lincoln at home. That would have been the first time. Did you play when you were in Listowel? You probably never played in St. Mary's because you were different conferences, right?
No, never played in St. Mary's.
I'm guessing the first time you'd ever played in the PRC as a visiting goaltender.
Yeah. Other than being a young kid and my couple games there, that was the first time. It was pretty cool to come out. Felt weird being like the enemy because to me it's my hometown, it's my home rink, but felt a little weird coming out the away side.
But the barn packed.
It was
the
crazy.
atmosphere, as usual, there was.
Yeah, you got red on the horn.
Yeah.
You can't even think because he just keeps blaring it.
And I remember, cause I stand on that far side as a rule when I'm not broadcasting, and he'll walk right by me every time. And I say the same thing every time. Take it easy on the horn, Rat, and he'll just say, nope.
Now that was also the first time you'd ever played against your brother.
Yeah, that's
correct.
Right. Yeah.
So that was kind of he's a bigger boy than you.
He
He's
had a great year. Really.
He had a
I know
fabulous
he
year.
scored a lot, but I mean, the thing I love about your brother is that he's got a motor that just doesn't quit. he finishes every single check on every single shift. He made it, not just with me, he made a real impression with the fan base. We all know that St. Mary's love their own. Obviously, they love Hodkinson, who's a top player and also a local player. But they love your brother there because every single shift he finishes those checks. He's got that motor going every time. So if you're listening, you've made an impression, young man.
Yeah, Chase, we did. I understand Carter worked pretty hard on you this week. We tried to get him on here.
We just got to get him over his shyness problem.
Yeah, I even sent it along. Like if Rhett Chelsel can do it, he's been chirping me about the Leafs. So, and anybody that don't know your neighbors with the Chelsels. Yeah. So, and your mom works with Paul Elgie.
Yeah,
no,
maybe. I'm not sure.
At Little
Falls.
Falls, yeah. They're the custodian crew up there.
Okay.
Yeah. So Paul Elgie says, he goes, yeah, I talk to his mom all the time. And so it's a little roundabout. And I grew up with Paul and went to school with Paul and all that. So, so you played in Stratford this year, a great year, and the barn when St. Mary's was in there and that place was packed, and you felt it last year in the playoffs too when that place is packed. I had somebody ask me what is the better playoff atmosphere, St. Mary's, Listowel, or Stratford.
I mean, I think it's Stratford. I think packing a bunch of people into that old barn. I mean, the barn itself is just kind of makes the atmosphere, and then you jam a bunch of people in there. It's pretty special. So I'd say Stratford.
Yeah, St. Mary's is a rocking little barn, but
I would say first of all, I think Listowell's a distant third.
Yeah.
And they couldn't even sell the place out for their Sutherland Cup finals, for goodness sake. So it's a nice barn. It's one of my favorites. I love the rink, but it's got nothing on the other two. I don't.
They could do something with their cell service. It'd be better too.
Yeah, fair enough. A little Wi-Fi, if you wouldn't mind, there in North Perth.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess it depends. I think the dynamics changed in Stratford for, like you say, us old guys. I think the crowds in Stratford used to be a little more engaged than they are now. They're big. I mean, like I say, we packed 1,600 or so in there for Game 6 against Chatham.
Yeah, I think Game 6 it was rocking.
Yeah, and I don't think it was any louder than when you made that save. You were down in that end when you made the save. And, it's rare indeed when the goalie makes a save. Outside of an NHL rink, it's rare indeed for a crowd to really get up on a goalie save. But that was a circus job, and the fans recognize that.
Yeah.
So,
and the guys from Small Town Strip Club, they mentioned that save. They come up in the intermission after you made that save, and he said, "My God," he said, "I've never seen it," because they were standing right back down there, back behind it.
yeah,
He
it was
said,
right in front of us,
"Yeah."
right?
And he said, he goes, "I've never seen anything like that." Because from my perspective up in the booth, I could see you get the puck and get it out, but I didn't know if you stopped it or the defenseman that was there, I think it was Frayne was there maybe, or something, or if he knocked it out. But everybody's going, no, he got all of it.
Yeah.
And
it did look like that from behind, too. It looked like the D got a piece of it. Like, you definitely saved it, but it kind of looked like the D man got a piece of it and slowed it down or whatever. But when I saw the replay, that was all Dougie.
yeah, you're just in survival mode at that time, right?
Yeah, I kind of got beat, and, like, if I'm being honest, I just threw my stick back. I'm pretty sure when it hit my stick, I was looking at the ceiling, so a bit of luck, but a little desperation helped me out.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Mechanics, man. Good mechanics.
Game 1 down there in Chatham. You guys played a good game. You tied it up late. And I still think you were down by 1. I still think that last goal didn't go in before the net come off.
Yeah, I agree. But
I still think the net came off after because Drayson Campbell's
Not that he's biased at all, folks.
Yeah.
Don't get the wrong impression.
Drayson Campbell's clan was down there. We're not talking 25 people. We're talking about 75 people. The Campbell clan down there in the corner. They were pretty ruckus.
Yeah, I remember seeing them throughout the series there.
What did the referee say to you at the time? Like when that puck went in, then they said the net was off. Did you ask the referee down at your end?
Oh, well, for being honest, I got pulled earlier in the game.
That's
so
right.
I was
you
sitting on the bench.
I forgot about that. That's the game Chase Furlong had come in.
Yeah.
Sorry about that one.
All good.
So yeah, you were closer to the ref then.
Yeah.
What did you say to him? Anyways.
What was the feeling on the bench at that time?
I mean, obviously, like think you tie it up, but you don't. It's pretty disappointing, but I think we still had some. Did we? Oh, and then came back, had some time.
Yeah.
Still thought we were going to maybe get one, but just didn't end up happening.
Yeah.
Not everybody can get that goal with 2 seconds left.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we'll talk about that in a bit. That's some wild hockey the other night. So you go to Game 7 against Chatham, and it's anybody's game, and it was a great hockey game. You guys were 1 goal away from putting Chatham out, and look where Chatham is now. You guys have to be proud of the way you guys played.
Yeah, for
like
sure.
the first series in LaSalle, you guys, it was pretty much a walk. I don't know if you were tested very much. You made, I called them 10 bell saves. Carter McDougall 10 bell saves. There wasn't too many in the LaSalle series because I don't think he made a lot of saves in the LaSalle series.
Yeah.
That one game in LaSalle, it was just, it was almost like a road hockey game. It was whoever scored last was going to win. And then the fourth game, Jonas Schmidt showed up and took that under control and got rid of that one pretty quick.
Yeah.
So it was nice to get through that series. And then you're going on to play Chatham. And what was the scouting report on Chatham? Because they're a big team.
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously, really good teams. Kind of seen it down the stretch after the trade deadline, brought in some good players. Very, very high scoring team. Played with a lot of speed and just kind of wanted to focus on our game, our defensive game, to try and slow it down a bit. But
yeah, they had come off a series against Elmira where their power play was at 50% almost. And that was a big thing you guys were able to quash was their power play. Because you guys are such a sneaky defensive team. A lot of people said that because your goals they were 107 goals against this year.
Did Stratford score?
Yeah.
They were well down the list. In
They
fact,
let in, I think it was 107 or something all year.
Are you saying how many they scored or gave up?
Gave up.
Oh, well, they were second in the league,
Yeah.
obviously. It was, I want to say 120.
Yeah, in and around there. It was something like that. So you guys had a fabulous year.
yeah. I mean, I think that just shows kind of the style of hockey that Willie gets us to play, and credit to the guys. They all bought into it, and like you said, with the penalty kill, I thought our PK was really good all year, and just kind of shows how the boys bought into it and bought into the defensive hockey.
And another thing with Stratford this year, I think it's a franchise record, but I can't go all the way back through the records. You guys only had 533 minutes in penalties.
Yeah, I mean, that helps a lot too,
Okay,
staying
well,
at the box.
I'm on the other side here. I don't think that's something to brag about. There's no Lady Bing for a team. You know
But
what I mean?
that
I
just
like
means
a team to take some penalties.
Yeah.
Anyways.
But that just means there weren't a lot of odd man advantages for.
I thought if you want to
know.
go into the stats, I thought my favorite stat was the fact that they had tied St. Mary's for the amount of shorthanded goals they
Yeah.
gave up at 24. Now, St. Mary's had 70 more shorthanded opportunities, but still, when you give up the same amount as a team that's killing them at a 91% clip,
Yeah.
that's an impressive number right there. I thought that was the best number. And Chatham's power play wasn't real good in round 3 either, to be honest with you. The thing I liked what Stratford did against Chatham was that, like, Chatham likes to score off the rush, obviously, with all those skilled forwards. And you stood him up at the blue line and made him dump a chase. And, I thought, I think it was Santos or was it Feezy? One of their coaching staff, I remember hearing one of them saying, they're standing us up, they're making us dump it in, and that's not how we like to play. And St. Mary's the same way. That's why it was an interesting matchup once they moved on to St. Mary's. Both teams like to score off the rush, and both teams were trying to make them dump a chase. But the other thing with Chatham is that they're really mobile D, that Van Netten and Fort J. Smith and the little guy that got hurt,
Gillen.
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 Because he apparently, I heard he hurt his shoulder pretty bad. I think he needs surgery.
Well, he was. I saw him hobbling in there in Game 7.
He was
so,
injured.
Yeah.
Anyways, and so they've got a bunch of guys that play good D as well. So kudos to Stratford for. I know it's not the most exciting hockey to play. I'm sure some of the forwards were wishing they could be a little more free and easy, but you know, you stick to the system, and it worked for you guys. So.
As a goalie, it
Well,
is fun when they play that
fun.
way.
Yeah, no doubt. Eh?
Yeah.
No doubt. So yeah, you love a team that likes to play defensively in front of you. You know, you think about the Grant Fures of the world, where it's just like, all right, he's back there. You take care of the net. We'll go score 6.
Yeah.
You know, just give up less than 6.
Another thing about goalie stats this year, one of the things I thought interesting, top 6 goalies came from 3 teams.
Yep.
In the Go this year. Fort Erie with 2.
John Lloyd was a stud there, and
Yeah.
of course Armelin and Booth Housego.
And then you and Furlong and Stratford.
McDougall, yeah, I noticed that too late in the season. Top 6 in save percentage and goals against, I think. Anyways, Jeffries was right there from St. Catharines, but yeah, impressive stuff, man.
Now you played against all the West teams. I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit. There's a lot of talented kids in this league right now. Who was maybe one of the players that gave you fits this year? Might have had your number.
Let me think. Who scored on me quite a bit? I don't know. I don't really know who scores on me, but I mean, I think 2 guys that kind of every time they stepped on the ice, I kind of had let myself know just to remind myself that they're out there. Were Lee and Spagnola. They kind of just, while they were out there, they were always flying around with getting scoring chances. So I think them, when they stepped on the ice, I was kind of a little extra aware.
Yeah, so obviously
Delacroce too, probably.
Yeah.
And Dylan Richter, when he wasn't hurt,
he's pretty good.
He's a pretty good player.
Yeah,
even right now in the finals, he's a pretty good player.
You look at a kid like that and you go, "What are you doing here?"
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean. It's like it's kudos to the Go, like to have kids of that kind of talent. It's been a while, you know, for those of us who have followed this league a very long time. You know, us actually really old guys remember the first Culletons in the mid '70s, the John Wilsons and the Frank Barths and the Bartons and Skinners and Chisholms. And it's been a long time since we've seen talent of this level, you know, because it kind of got left alone when those tier 2 junior A teams came out. Everybody thought for status, they all want to go there. They all want to go play tier 2. But I mean, there's kids that are good enough to play in the O, good enough to play in the Q, here in the Go, and I think that's fantastic.
So you're currently at Western?
Fanshawe College.
Finished your first year or second?
Finished my second year.
Second year. What are you going through for?
General business.
General business.
Yeah.
General business. Are you gonna? What does that mean?
It's
you're gonna be an Army guy, or?
I don't know. Kind of a little vacation almost.
I think the word is he went to party.
General business. Never mind.
He was telling me one of your roommates plays for St. Mary's.
Yeah, Ryder Livermore.
Oh, yeah. How is he? Because he blew up his leg in Game 4 against London.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's getting better.
Is the boots still on?
As far as I know, yeah, I haven't seen him there for a week or so. But, I mean, yeah, that was pretty unfortunate. Hate to see a 20-year-old's
yeah, you mentioned that earlier. And
yeah,
we were thinking the same thing. Not only from a selfish standpoint, it would have been, you wonder if Ryder Livermore would have made one goal of difference.
Yeah.
So just like you guys, the St. Mary's Lincolns were one goal away from at least going to overtime and having a chance to win that series. So he's a great kid. He grew a lot in the time he was with St. Mary's. You know, he's not the most offensively gifted, but you love him when he doesn't have the puck, man. He's a fantastic hockey player.
You got to play with a couple 20-year-olds this year along with yourself. There's 5 graduating players. What do you think of all of those guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think all 4 of those other guys, like, they're great hockey players. I mean, you got Cole Lewis, the captain, the leader of our team, kind of, and one of the drivers of our offense. And then Zach Schooley, who I actually, when we got put out, I said it to him. Played my most hockey years with him. Played 8 years with him in the Lakers, then got to reunite with him. So, I mean, he's one of my favorite teammates ever. Played a lot of hockey with him. And then the other 2 guys kind of just met this year. I mean, Aiden Wilson stepped in, came out to training camp, got a spot on the team, and never looked back from there, and just kept getting better, and just a great teammate overall. And then Hunter Nagy brought him in. little bit into the season, and it's kind of same thing. You guys know how good of a hockey player he is, but just an amazing teammate, amazing leader, and just a great guy. So I think for all of them, all good hockey players, but all great people too.
So did Zach's dad, Pat, coach you at some point?
No, he never coached me, but he maybe coached Zach in Stratford. But
He coached a lot of kids through the years, So,
Yeah.
so have you? You've had a couple of weeks now. Have you thought about what next year brings? Like, are you done, or the nice thing about the new rules, you could drop down to C and play another year if you want to. I know a lot of guys that have done that. Two Lincolns last year, Barkley and Brandon Abbott dropped down. A lot of guys do.
Abbott got in the goalie fight this year.
yeah, yeah. I'm kind of just weighing my options. I've got some options with
Somebody
some,
reached out. I mean, you don't have to.
Yeah, I got some junior C teams, and there's a couple schools down in the States, but I kind of haven't really dived into it. Like,
No
I
hurry,
don't know.
right?
Yeah, like I'm just taking my time.
Finish your year off of school, and then you can.
Yeah, start worrying about next year.
So when you guys got put out, you still had to pay attention a little bit to the junior B with your brother still playing. Did you make it out to many of those games?
Yeah, I made it to game 1 there, Chatham St. Mary's, and then I think the only next one was I went to game 7, so I was there for that.
Game 7 was last Tuesday, and we'll talk a little bit about that now because that was a huge game, a big crowd. What was they said it was like 1429 or something.
Yeah, it was over capacity.
Yeah. 1450's capacity. They said 1429, but I think
I don't know.
I think they had a lot more than that in there.
Chatham was well represented.
Yeah.
And I mean that in a good way and a bad way. They were poorly represented by a small few.
Yeah.
Most of their fans were good people, though. We had trouble with a couple of them, but there's no sense ragging on that now.
We had a good night that night because we had Mr. Hillebrandt, former St. Mary's goaltender, standing with us throughout the whole game. So back in the day, way back in the day, well before your time.
Terry's his brother. Randy.
Yeah, Randy.
Hillebrandt.
Any relation to the Hillebrandt and Barry that played on U.S. World Juniors? Or no?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No.
No, he played.
But he stood beside us talking to us most of the game. So
He played in 80, 81, or
Yeah.
81, 82, the year before
Olchuk.
Olchuk showed up.
yeah. So we had him. Go ahead, Brian. That game was something else.
Well, I mean, it was the first period harkened back to game 1 because that was the best game St. Mary's played. That was really the only game where they played a full 60 minutes. They beat Chatham 4-0 in game 1. They were good from the opening puck right down to the empty netter. And the first period was like that. They got the early goal. They got a second goal. They were up 2-0. They came out in the second, which has been a problem for them in a lot of games in these playoffs, having a weak second period. The first 8 or 9 minutes, they were all over them. They're out shooting them, out playing them, out chancing them. A lot of ozone time. And then just one bad pinch. And that's kind of been the thing with Chatham all through this. They're so talented. And I think you guys can relate, the Warriors. You just have that one period. Game 1, prime example. You had that one bad period. You played first and third periods. You played really, really well. But that one bad period in Chatham is that good where if you have one bad period, you're probably going to lose the hockey game. They're that talented. And the one bad pinch, 3-on-1, walked down, scored. Another turnover at center ice, this time a 3-on-3, let him in a little too deep. And then whoever scored it, left-handed shot, cut middle.
Chadwick, I think.
Chadwick, yeah, it was Carter Chadwick.
Really good hockey
shot.
player, and he buried it top corner as well. And just 2 really good shots, and bang, it's 2-2. And all the work they did for 30 minutes was lost. And they were now up back on their heels, and Chatham was the better team in the second period. Third period, I tell you what, that was, as far as I'm concerned, the 2 best teams in the going at it, playing at the top level. The first 8 or 9 minutes of that Game 7 was as fast a pace as you will ever see at this level. 4 lines for each team going hard. St. Mary's depleted decor. Like I say, they lost Barch in January. They lost Livermore in round 2. They got Coops back. They got 2 call-ups playing. The Coward kid from Exeter, I thought he did a fantastic job stepping in. I talked to Coach Bradley before the game, before Game 5, And he said, don't be surprised if this kid plays 20 minutes. We love this kid. So I would be really shocked if he wasn't there next year and one of their better defensemen. And it was just a 5-on-5 in the St. Mary's end. And where were you standing? Because maybe you got a better look at it than I did.
I was up like right kind of beside the Lincoln's net there.
Okay, because that 3-2 goal looked like it bounced over his pad, and I'm not sure whether it hit something or bounced. What did you see?
I think I don't.
Because he looked shocked.
I think it hit maybe one of the Lincoln sticks, maybe.
Booth Housecoat looked absolutely shocked when the puck went in. Yeah. Goalies just have that look about them when a puck goes in, like what the hell happened there, and then Hunt. They had it down in St. Mary's end again, and Hunt, really nice tip on a point shot, had about 6 inches, 5-hole. Strange that like Booth Housecoat's stick was not straight, which is because he's so mechanically gifted. Always in the right position, like an old Giger, always in the right spot, always good mechanics. But he left that little tiny hole with a puck plus an inch, went right in there. So, St. Mary's fought back really hard. Beautiful goal by Kalp. And where would they be if Kalp wasn't playing like he was, with all the defensemen lost? In off the crossbar, a little bar down action, 4-3. And then just the damnedest play I ever saw late, last minute, pulled goalie, puck's behind the net, Spagnuolo's got it, and he looks like he's heading around to the right, and Hunter's turning and following him. Meanwhile, he somehow got the puck around behind him, and there's Jaden Lee, 6 feet from the net, all by himself with the puck and time, and the goalie's looking the other way and his stick's up in the air. All he's got to do is miss the goalie, and it's a tie game. We're going to overtime, and somehow he managed to hit the bottom of his pad, and that was all she wrote. That was the end of the game.
Yeah, Hunt just kept his pad up against that post and looking the other way. And
he could have shot the puck on the ice anywhere, and the only thing stopping it was the toe of the blade. You know what I mean?
And you probably give him that same shot 10 times.
He
hits
that.
them nine of them.
30 goals. He's the third leading scorer, and
Yeah.
he was the only one. Like Delacroce and Martin were the only one to get more points than Jaden Lee. If I said to you, if you're down 1 goal, last minute, who do you want to have the puck in front? You'd say Jaden Lee, and he had the puck. And it's just, but I think I leaned it over, talked to you at one point during the third period, and I just said, ever get the feeling it's just not your night?
yeah,
So one thing I just wanted to say, my man Trey Hamilton that I do the Irish games with, Stratford went up 2-0, and he said, so game 3, he asked me, Brian, would you consider Strathroy a must-win situation? And philosophically, I'm against the concept because in playoffs, in my mind, every single game you play in the playoffs is a must-win. Even if you're not up against it, even if it's not an elimination game, it is a must-win game because you don't know. If you take that one game off like they did in Game 3, they were horrible in Game 3. Horrible. It was maybe the worst second period of the year. And you take that one game off, and now you're in Game 7, and you don't get the puck luck in the third period. It doesn't matter how well you play. If you don't get the puck luck, you're going to lose that game. So every single game, if you're out there listening and you're still playing this game, every single playoff game you ever play is a must-win game. And you can't look at it any other way because you take one game off, next thing you know, you're sitting around watching somebody else playing for the title.
yeah. And Gannon Hunter for Chatham, Cole Lewis sat here and said, it depends what Gannon Hunter you get. You get the hot one or you get the cold one. And you guys saw that in the series against Chatham. We didn't see him this year, actually. We never played a game. Sammy DeBlasi played every regular season game against us this year. So we never saw him till the playoffs. But you must have noticed that he would be either on his game or he'd be off his game.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of all goalies. You could say the same about me in that series, but I think ultimately came down. I thought he was amazing there Game 6 and even better Game 7. So, I mean, he made the saves when it counted, and, I mean, he's still running with it, so he's doing something right.
Yeah, so if you don't know, they're in the Southern Cup against St. Catharines, and that series is now tied at 1 game apiece. Chatham came out in Game 1 and dismantled St. Catharines in that first game.
Clearly, we're not ready to play. It was 4-0, like 15 minutes into the game.
Yeah, and Gannon Hunter stood on his head, and St. Catharines ended up changing goalies at one time, but then they came back in Chatham there last night and played a much better game, and we were able to pull out the win. The score doesn't reflect the win.
It was Jeffrey's turn to stand on his head. 51 shots, made 49 saves.
Yeah.
And that was basically it ended up 5-2, but that was a 2-1 hockey game.
Yeah.
3 empty nets.
Yeah, 3 empty net goals in the last 2:39. Because Chatham, I thought they pulled the goalie. They were only down by 1. They pulled the goalie with 2:39 left. I thought that was a little early.
You know, I was going to go off topic a little bit here. I've seen that a lot.
Yep.
And you know, I grew up from a time. Do you remember back in the day when the Russians would never pull their goaltender? Ever. They never pulled their goaltender. And then it was kind of common knowledge. You'd hear the guy saying last minute of play before the goalie would come out.
Yep.
And in fact, a lot of times I can think of a lot of games where hearing that announcement, the goalie would jump for the bench. But now we're talking, and I don't know if there's an NHL analytics department that is deciding this and junior teams are following. I don't know. Has there ever been any discussion that you've heard anyway at the coaching level about when is the right time to pull a goaltender? Have you ever had that conversation with your coaching staff or heard them talk about it?
No, I mean, kind of never really talk about it, just get the call when. But one thing, I think it's just kind of every coach has their own kind of time in their head, and they kind of just run with that. Like, I think this year, actually, Willie likes to pull his, like, with lots of time left
Yes, he does.
on the clock. But, I mean, I think this year's the most I've ever been a part where we're down 1 and we score on a 6-on-5. Like, I swear we scored on 6-on-5s quite a bit this year. But, no, like I said, I just think it's kind of coach's preference.
It's just like I said, when you've seen as many games as we have, you just notice some changes, and sometimes you don't notice them right away. They get pointed out, and you know, like I said, coaches would almost never pull the goalie with more than a minute left, and now we're seeing 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Now, when you're down 2, different story. 3.5 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever. You're desperate. Who cares, right? But when you're down 1, you know, and I suppose, like you said, and it could vary from game to game too. Is it a 6-5 hockey game or is it a 2-1 hockey game where you've had 58 minutes to score a second goal and you can't do it yet? So a little extra time with the goalie pulled. I just find it interesting how much earlier that coaches generally pull their goalies than they used to.
Well, I saw somewhere the other night somebody pulled their goalie with 16 minutes and 38 seconds left in the period. They were on a 5-on-3, so you know they were down by 3 goals. So why not?
I remember the Irish did that. There was between 5 and 6 minutes left. They were down 3.
Wasn't it Patrick Waugh in Colorado that really started pulling his goalie really early? I wonder if he started that.
I think he was kind of known for pulling it.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back. Carter wants to stick around. We're going to talk some NHL. He's got a hat on that, you know, it's okay if he wears it here. They had a heck of a year. We'll talk to him about his Montreal Canadiens. We're going to talk about 2 Game 7s that one topped the other, and then things start tonight. Round 2. Unlike other things, we wait till the other series are done before we start round 2. The NBA, we started round 2 last night with round 1 still going on.
Yeah, Game 7 and Game 1 at the same time.
I never understood that. You'd think you'd want all the attention on Game 7, but here nor there. So we'll take a break. We'll be right back. And you'll hear from our sponsors if we forgot to put them up on the screen, but you can see them flash down on the screen. So we'll be right back, folks.
Lovesick blind. Why do I climb these heights to you? Twisted muse always gets my shit confused. What's a man have to prove? Do I have to walk the night for you? Every mountain I've climbed, there's a valley low. For every highway I ride, there's a rocky road.
All right, we're back. This show tonight's brought to you by just a bit up. You want a bit up?
Turn me a bit up, will you?
Turn your bit up. I think that's that's
If I
purple.
cuss, I want everybody to hear it.
There we go. You're a
Thank
little
you.
louder now. All right, this show's brought to you by Joe's Diner, 155 on Erie Street, unit number 1, home of the famous Perth County number 4.
Over easy brown bacon.
Go in and visit Blaine and staff, and they'll set you up for everything you need.
Yeah, and try the meatloaf on Fridays. It's fantastic.
SBS Metals, your custom metal fabricator in Stratford here, Dennis and Kathy. Just shoot them your idea, and they'll get back to you with something they need. Brighter Visions on Ontario Street here for all your counseling and psychology needs. Oh, who else was? Bentley's Bar downtown for late night drinks, and if you want to go watch the Leafs play, there's quite a few Leaf fans hanging around there still.
And as you can tell, I've been to the Urban Barber recently.
Yeah.
I'm looking tight up on top. Go see those folks. Jeff and the gang there do great work with your haircuts and beard trimming and all the fixins, as it were.
You should go there, Carter, because they're all Habs fans. All 3 of them.
I'll like them then.
Yeah, that's right. You're like Janet Lange, who put the real in real estate, Stratford area real estate broker. Oh, I don't have anybody else that I can remember.
We want to shout out to your favorite captain, my captain, Gary Ray.
Yeah.
Who is, by this point, I assume, a nautical, we just call him Captain Nero from now on. If you need somebody to sail down the middle of a river, Razor's your man.
If you want to take a trip, a scenic trip on the Avon, go board the Juliet at the boathouse and make sure you tip Razor well, because he might not give you a life jacket if you don't.
Yep, and he's driving the Juliet, so that way you know he's Romeo.
All right. So in the NHL last night, we had a couple games, or we had a Game 7 that was, I didn't think could top the Game 7 from the night before when Mikko Rantanen got his revenge on his old team in Colorado.
I got to say, anybody who thought that Rantanen could not survive without McKinnon has now learned different. That guy had 12 points in the series. He had 8 points in games 6 and 7 combined. 8 points. Wow, what a performance. He just took over the game. And, who would have thought that the best player on the ice was not going to be 29? It was going to be Rantanen. Yeah. So you just got to give a shout out to that young man who's playing with a new team and, has been in the shadow, has taken a lot of heat about the money that he wants. He's proved he's worth every penny, I should think.
And that was such a weird thing because Colorado did everything they could not to have him in their conference because they traded him Carolina.
Yeah, you couldn't trade him much
completely
further.
out. Completely out of your conference. And he sneaks back in with Dallas and scores a hat trick in Game 7. First hat trick in, first hat trick in a Game 7, I think they said. Pete DeBoer is now 9-0 in Game 7. Him and Steve Spott.
And he's such a great hockey mind, isn't he? All the way back to when he was winning with the Kitchener Rangers, and he's an amazing coach. Really, everybody knows about him, but I don't think that he gets the same kind of love that a Cooper or in Florida there. Maurice, yeah, I don't. He's just not getting the same kind of love. I know he's well respected and everybody likes him, whatever, but Pete DeBoer truly is one of the great coaches in the league, I think.
Yeah, and considering he coached San Jose and he still has a 9-0 Game 7 record, it's pretty good.
Well, they used to be good back when they had Big Joe and Little Joe.
Yeah, but and then last night.
Wow.
Did you stay up and watch that, Carter?
Yeah, watched from start to finish.
That was a St. Louis Blues and Winnipeg Jets Game 7. St. Louis went out quickly. They came out quickly, and we had a couple text messages, and I was like, oh, there's the President's Trophy curse right there. But that thing turned into a wild hockey game.
Yeah. Crazy ending.
Yeah, I've never seen that. They were down 2 goals?
They were down 3-1.
3-1 with 2:39 left or something like that. Pulled the goalie. Cole Perfetti, another goal. There's a kid that's really shining this year. And then they score with it was 1.6 seconds.
And if you look at that goal, I would swear, and I had to watch it again and again, I would swear that he whiffed on the shot. I don't know who it was on the far boards who was just trying to take a desperation one-timer at the net and whiffed on it, and it missed the net by 8 feet, just in the reach of Perfetti to be able to pull that deft tip off, because there's no way that was intentional.
Yeah.
No, in my mind, I'm convinced there's no way that was intentional. He knows it's the end of the game. He knows all he has to do is just get a shot on net, and who knows. And he didn't. If you watch it again, I swear it was a left-handed shot.
Kyle Connor, I think it
Was it
was
Connor?
that passed it, yeah.
And he takes the big swing at it, but it just come off like a dead fish right to and tapped it in. It's like, oh my God, 1.6, the latest goal ever scored in a Game 7.
Yeah. I saw a video today. There was a rec hockey game going on, and the guys on the bench have their phone, and the referee's standing by the boards with his phone. Winnipeg scores, and the referee jumps into the players' bench. They're all hugging and everything.
Really?
Winnipeg rec game. Yeah, that was kind of neat. They showed the all the white outside too of that arena. That place was electric down there.
It looked like there were more people outside than in. I don't know how many did they ever say how many they stuffed into that little square there? But
No.
there was a lot of folks, man.
And
Holy mackerel.
If I saw Connor Hellebuck after the game, and it looked like a guy, I think somebody said it this morning, or they maybe said it last night, it looked like somebody that just had a piano fall off his back, because he's had tough luck in the playoffs lately.
Yeah, and in the first and second intermission, or in between the first and second, the Sportsnet broadcast was just talking about how he should be pulled and stuff, but like he's the best goalie in the world, and you could tell kind of as the game went on into the third, and then I think in both overtimes he kind of found his confidence again, and like when he's got that, he's lights out, and so if he just figures that out, I think he's scary.
Yeah, so hands down, he should win the Vezina this year.
Yeah.
Well, if he's going to play like he did the second half of that game for the rest of the playoffs, they just might take Dallas out.
Yeah.
Because the guys that are playing in front of him. But isn't it really just one of those things in sports that happens where 2 months ago, two goalies faced off in overtime for the Four Nations Cup. And fast forward to Game 7 overtime, and those same two goalies are up against each other again. And I thought Bennington was every bit as good in last night's game as he was in the gold medal game in the Four Nations. He made two big saves, especially on the breakaway late in the first overtime. And, you can't blame the guy for the goal. It was a double doinker, right?
Yep.
It went off of one of his and one of them. And, Connor's getting the glory for it. But really, I mean, that's the kind of goal that I would score in the NHL. Just turn my ass to the shooter and hope it bounces in off me.
Yeah.
But it hit the other defenseman before it bounced off of Lowry. Did I say Connor? I meant Lowry.
Yeah, Lowry's going to say Lowry got credit for that goal.
Yes.
You mentioned that, and then look at the next series coming up. They're playing Dallas, so you're going to have Connor Hellebuck against Ottinger, and they're fighting for the number one job for the Olympics of Team USA.
Are they, though? Are they? I mean, Ottinger's going to get named. He's going.
I think if Hellebuck went out in the first round, it might have been more of a fight.
I mean, I think under the old line of Hellebuck's job to lose, he's going to have to come out next season and really suck to not get the starting job. And even then, you don't want to be that coach who turns down the Vezina Trophy winner on a hunch when you're playing for an Olympic gold medal. I don't know what you think about that. You're the expert on goalies.
No, I agree. I think Hellebuck's the best in the world, and I think that's who you kind of got to go with.
Yeah, so that'll be an interesting series. Razor gave us Dallas in 6. I'm going to take Winnipeg in 7. They're going to go 7 again.
I agree with Dallas in 6. I just think they're the best team in the league.
I think Winnipeg is over the hump, and they are a lot tougher to score on than Colorado is. They don't have the offensive upside, but they can score. And like I said, I'm just going to go on a feeling right now that Hellebuck is over that hump. If he can win a game on the road, I like Winnipeg in 6.
All right. The other series coming up in the West, Edmonton Oilers versus the Vegas Golden Knights. Whoa. What do you say about this series? Does Edmonton have the goaltending in this series?
I'm still trying to figure out how they beat LA. They got their asses kicked. I remember a series that you might remember, 1993.
Yep.
Toronto against Detroit. And Toronto went into Detroit and got absolutely
Pummeled,
kicked
yep.
for the tune of about the same 13 goals that LA scored in the first 2 goals of that series. Come back to Toronto. Dave Andrechuk, I think, scored both goals in a 2-1 win, and they just ground out 2 wins at home. And then an overtime win in Detroit, and then a loss at home in Game 6, and back to Detroit for another overtime game. And
Nikolai Borishevsky.
that series really reminded me, like, it looked like Edmonton was going to get absolutely maybe swept. You know, were they even going to win a game?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, they changed goalies, put Pickford in, and boom. I mean, they started getting depth of scoring, which is so important in the playoffs. Having said that, the Kings are not Vegas.
No.
And I said it before on our playoff preview, and I think just about everybody around the table said the same thing. We're going to give Edmonton round 1, but none of us saw them winning round 2, especially if it's Vegas.
Yeah.
I think Vegas in 5. I think it's a short series.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting series. What do you got in that one, Carter?
I'm gonna go against him. I agree. I don't know if Pickard's the answer, but I think when you got arguably the 2 best players in the world, you always got a chance. So I'm gonna go Oilers in 7.
Oilers in 7. Yeah, because you pretty much have to ride Pickard now.
Yeah,
He's pretty much his crease to lose now. You know, you can always go back to Skinner, but you know, Skinner's weakness is shots on goals. You get a shot on goal, you never know what's going to happen. I'm going to take Vegas in 6. I still think Vegas. I heard the odds this morning, and I think Vegas is right up there for the Stanley Cup odds after round 1. So I'll take Vegas in 6. Gary had Edmonton in 7. Edmonton in 7. All right, now we'll go to the East, and we'll start with the Washington-Carolina series. Well, Washington put out your Montreal Canadiens.
yeah.
But I'm not a Habs fan. I've rarely ever watched a Habs game if I have to. But I watched a lot of the playoff games, and the young team in Montreal showed up to play well. What did you think about your team in the first round?
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of coming in, they had no expectations. They kind of are in the kind of like end of their rebuild, so I think just getting in was kind of their thing. But I think they kind of showed up and gave Washington a good fight. I know it was only a 5-game series, but felt like a couple of those games could have went either way. And Washington was just the better team. But I mean, the Habs are looking good for the future, and couple studs.
Yeah, that Demidov kid, he's going to be good. The only problem is his contract. There's a clause in his contract. He has to play so many games, or he goes back to the KHL.
Oh,
It's in his contract. He has to be in so many games or something like that. They were talking about it the other day on the sports channel, and I was like, I've never heard, but it's the new thing the Russians are doing. If you want them to come over, you know, you got to play them.
I like it. Yeah, don't bring them over and then play them 8 games and send them on your taxi squad, right?
Yeah, send them down to the AHL or something, right?
The one thing I will say about Montreal that I was really impressed with, much like the Sanderson kid in Ottawa, this was the coming out party for Hudson.
Yes.
Now, it may sound strange because I know Hudson is either going to win the Calder or is going to finish runner-up to Celebrini, depending on who you talk to. I think he certainly deserves the Calder trophy if he gets it. But it's different, and it's easy for all of us schmucks to say the playoffs are different. But for the amount of games that we have seen and the amount of times that we have heard everybody, you just don't know if a young kid is going to show up in the playoffs and perform to get another gear yet. As good as he's looked, when you go into the playoffs, you have to find another gear. You have to play with another level of speed and another level of toughness. And I thought he showed all of that. Made a couple mistakes, but when you have the puck as often as he does, but he made Cole McCarr-like moves back on the blue line, impressed the hell out of me. And I think he's going to be a staple for this team for the next 10 years.
The only thing is in that series for Washington, really, you had the old guy that showed up in the regular season, set the record. He showed up again in the playoffs.
Well, to be clear, in game one, he didn't show up in overtime. He was allowed to go wherever the Sam Helly wanted to in overtime. And I understand that the player in question got a lot of negative press over the course of the series. I don't know if anybody else has heard, but that 8 fella, he's pretty good. So when you're in overtime, maybe you put somebody on him. Maybe when he goes to the slot, somebody gets, engages his stick, something. But he let him walk right into the middle. Nice play to bunt it out of the air. Beauty goal, but that's a guy who's got 900 goals. That's what he does. Yeah. He scores nice goals.
And how many goals did he score from that spot in his career, right?
And I know he's 240 pounds and sometimes, but at the end of the day, you cannot, it's a baseball axiom. If you're playing against Barry Bonds, you cannot let Barry Bonds beat you into playoffs. Somebody else has got to do it. You can't let Ovechkin. Yeah. So I'm sure that's a lesson that Montreal has learned going through the playoffs, and I foresee them making the playoffs again next year and be really strong. I'd like to see them get a little more scoring depth. I'm not completely sold on your goaltender.
Which one?
Montembeault.
Montembeault, yeah.
I'm not completely sold on him. Now, in fairness, he got taken out early on, but it's an up-and-coming team, fun to watch, and they really push Washington. Yeah.
So Washington gets Carolina. Carolina pretty much had their way with New Jersey.
We knew they would.
Rod Brindamore has that team firing on all cylinders. I think Carolina's still going to roll against Washington, and it's either going to be 5 or 6 games. I don't think Washington's staying around long against this Carolina team. They get to play every other day. Brian.
I'm not convinced. Washington showed me something. I don't watch a lot of Washington games for obvious reasons. But they're a complete team. And do you know who they remind me of? They remind me of Florida.
Yeah.
They play that big, heavy game that works in the playoffs. And in fact, like I said, I never watched enough of them to know. But you look up and down their lineup. Dylan Strome is still playing really good hockey. The guy who everybody thought he was going to be coming out of junior. The coach is inexperienced, but he's got them humming. And
he's going to be Jack Adams Coach of the Year.
Absolutely is. I think Washington's okay. All Flyer fans love Rod Brindamore, and we know Carolina has that playoff pedigree. Speaking of goaltending, I think it's a huge advantage for Washington in net. That's a tough one to pick, but I'm going to go with my heart because I want to see Florida and Washington play a 7-game series. You'll have to go to the rink and reinforce the boards to get through this series, man. That's good. That's the one I want to see. That's going to be the heaviest hockey. So, spoiler alert for later on.
Yeah.
I'm going to take Washington. I think they're really going to have to earn it. I think it'll go 7.
All right, Carter.
Yeah, I agree with him. I'm taking Washington in 7. I just think kind of all year they've kind of just had this vibe to them, just they're not on paper the best team, but they just kind of gel well together. So I'm taking them in 7.
Talking about Washington, Logan Thompson's playing excellent hockey. Does this get him in the Canadian Olympic conversation?
I think if they go deep, it does. He's got to have big game experience, and they were very clear about why they chose Bennington, because he won a Game 7 for the Stanley Cup. That's why they chose him for the 4 Nations, and that's why he's going to be the leading guy for the Olympics as well.
But you also got Aiden Hill in Vancouver and Vegas that's playing well too. So, and there's talk about a little bit of headbutting between those two. But I guess if anybody can figure it out, it'll be Doug Armstrong.
It's what we do. To be clear, I don't see Logan Thompson starting.
No,
but I see him on the team.
Yeah,
I agree. I think maybe my Hab Montembeault. I think he might be out.
Yeah, he might be out of his spot there. All right, so now we move on to the next series that starts
tonight.
tonight.
Razor's pick?
Razor's pick. Razor's pick. I think he had Washington in 5.
Quick.
Yeah, he took them quick and early. Yes, Washington in 5. All right. First series starts tonight at 8 o'clock. Okay. At first, I was kind of start time. It's ridiculous, but I'm off tomorrow anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Draft lottery.
Yes.
So they're doing that first.
The draft lottery is on the air at 7 o'clock tonight. We'll find out if Maxim Celebrity is going to get a playing partner in San Jose. as they hold the biggest chance of getting it. And that number 1 pick could be Schaefer.
1 in 10 chance that it's going to be Philadelphia picking first.
Yeah.
And boy, would that Schaefer kid look good playing defense in orange and black.
Yeah, it could be Gavin McKenna.
Having said that, I tell you who I like is the what's his name, Martone.
Martin.
Yeah, I like him,
Yeah.
man. I think they're on him about his speed, but they said the same thing about John Leclerc, and he scored 400 goals in the league.
Yeah. So that'll go on the air about 7 o'clock, and they'll do that whole thing. And then, so 8 o'clock, we get Toronto and Florida. Now, we finished playing one Kachuk, and now we get the one I hate more.
The better one.
The one I hate more. Matthew Kachuk. Now, there was chirping online about this, and I said I really didn't want to put a game total on this series because I said it's going to go 4 games no matter what.
So somebody told me it was going to be Florida in 3.
Yeah. I honestly, I think, they are the heavy favorites to win the Stanley Cup again, Florida. They are defending Stanley Cup champions. Toronto is going to be up against it. Anthony Stolarz is going to have to be better than he was against Ottawa. If not, I think you see Woll. I think it's a short string for Stolarz. I think you'll see Woll quickly if something goes awry. And the big guys are going to have to set up. The new dad, Mitchell Marner, is going to have to show up. And, that other guy, Austin Matthews, he did score in the Game 6 there against Ottawa. And everybody said it was a flub shot, but I don't know. When you're a goal scorer,
I
you
thought
can.
so too, to be honest with you. It's like a shot along the ice from the point, a wrist shot that just, I never.
But they said it was a quick wrist shot, though, along the ice, right?
I've seen him shoot. I'm pretty sure he can shoot it harder than that.
Yeah. So, but.
Anyway.
And the
What's that old line about the scoreboard only says how many?
Yeah, you got to remember Stolarz and OEL are playing against their former team, so that's a little bit of motivation there.
And Lawrence.
Yep, Lawrence is playing against his old team there. So, it's honestly, because I'm a Leaf fan, I'm going to have to pick Toronto in 6. I will not be surprised if Florida does win this series. Bobrovsky is probably one of the best goalies in the world. We've talked about the Russians having a team at the Olympics or whatnot, and him and that guy in New York would fight it out, I think, for the number 1 spot on the Russian team. So yeah, I'll take Toronto in 6. Carter.
You
can't pick Toronto.
No, well, one, I think Florida's the better team. I think probably the best team or one of the best teams in the NHL. I just think they're a little too much to handle. They're a whole lot better than the Senators, and I hate the Toronto Maple Leafs. So I'll give them a couple games. So I'll go Florida in 6.
Who does your brother cheer for?
He's a Penguins fan.
Oh,
so
that's okay. It's better than Montreal. Razor picked Toronto in 7.
Of course he did.
I know who you picked because you gave it up in the last pick.
Yes. I have a couple of thoughts about this. I think a lot of people have said that I'm just going to call them the sandpaper line, Bennett, Marchand, Tachuk. Everybody seems to think that they're going to play against the number 1 line. I think that's a mistake. I would put that line against Tavares and Nylander. I think Nylander's your biggest concern if you're Florida. And I'd want those guys sitting on the seat of their pants as often as possible. Mitch Marner. How many words have been spoken about Mitch Marner leading into his contract year? How many words have been said about Mitch Marner being a perimeter player? Now you're facing the heaviest team in the league, and you will have to go to the greasy areas to get goals. And if you don't, you won't get them. You won't get them from the half boards. You won't get them from the hash marks. You'll get them in the greasy area. To me, and it's a team game, but this is Marner. This is all on Marner to find another level. And I don't know, maybe the goal, being part of the goal in the Four Nations Cup might help him step up here. I think Toronto is a better team than people are giving them credit for. They showed me another level of toughness than they have shown. They showed me a level of calm that they have not shown. and I think they'll give Florida all they can handle. But unless Mitch Marner has a big series, I don't think they can win it up. But I think it's going to go 7. I like Florida in 7.
Florida in 7. Yeah, there. You're right. I think Chris Tanev has been playing fabulous for Toronto.
Their whole decor looked good, to be honest with you. The kid that got the overtime
Benoit.
goal,
Yeah.
I mean, they are taking
I'd
care
like
of the
to
front
see
of
him
the net.
Superman punch Brad Marchand.
Well, and see, that would be a waste. That's not a good trade-off for them. I mean, maybe if it's 6-1, in Game 3 or something like that. But I look for Toronto to go out and right off the hop, I'm looking for Toronto to come out and punch them in the face and just serve notice saying, yep, you play a heavy game, but here we come.
All right, those are our picks for the second round, which starts tonight at 8 o'clock. Also, there's some news. Team Canada for the World Championships got a big boost. Sidney Crosby, Nathan McKinnon, and now Marc-Andre Fleury.
Sorry, I can't go last time you said it too.
Yeah.
I love them. How can you not love them? All the way back to the World Juniors and what have you. And
So he's never played for World Championships, and
Which
Carter,
is weird,
Carter
right?
brought it up. This would be his trifecta of golds.
the triple gold guy.
The triple gold guy. And his statement was,
Are there 11?
yeah.
I think there's 11 of them.
His statement today was he wants to play with Sid Crosby one last time,
Yeah, fair enough.
and he's Marc-Andre Fleury. I'm going to let him do what he wants.
Yeah.
They only named one goalie, so
I seen they had Carter George up there
yep,
with them. Yeah.
yep,
Wouldn't that be something?
yeah.
That would be so cool to see him up. I mean, I think, did he not get it a shutout in his AHL debut?
Yeah, I think his first ever pro game
I
shutout.
mean, I tell you what, I watched him play in the 18s and then in the juniors, and he's got that level of calm that we love from goaltenders too. He is mature well beyond his years. He's impressed the hell out of me, not just because I'm biased, because he's a former Lincoln.
Yeah. There's also talk about today about the players that didn't accept the invite, and they were talking about Nick Suzuki again not accepting the invite to Team Canada. So I don't know. That's
You know what? What's going on there? I mean, you're the Hab fan. Maybe you know something, but he should be playing some international hockey, and he's not, and I don't know why that is.
Yeah, I seen maybe that he going into the Four Nations. I read something that maybe him and Hockey Canada kind of butted heads a couple times, but you never know. Maybe he's a little banged up after the playoff series as well. But I mean, I'm hoping to see him come out hot and make the Olympic team. But so I would like to see him play here.
Well, and I'm with you on that. I like him as a player, but the one thing that we have learned over the years, if you say no to the World Championship, and let's face it, folks, World Championship in quotations, but that's a 30-year-old argument.
yeah.
You play the World Championships just when all the best players are,
Still playing hockey.
either just finished, getting crab kicked for 7 games or have another 7 games to get crab kicked, or 14 games. I would like to see him there, but like I said, I'm concerned when you say no, they tend to remember such things. Hockey Canada is like a wife, they remember stuff that you wish they forget, but they don't.
It's like the internet now. When it's on the internet, it's always on the internet.
It's written in pen, right?
Yeah. So that'll be interesting. Last time Sidney Crosby played at the World Championships, they won gold. I understand his reasoning for going again. It was, he's the captain of the Olympic team. He figures he should be there.
Well, and
at the
kudos
World
to him,
Championship.
because
if he said no, nobody would say
I
a word.
wanted him to say no. Go home and rest that body. Send somebody like a Suzuki who hasn't gone before. But Sid wants to go, Sid goes. Sid has earned that.
I don't think we see Nathan McKinnon without Sidney Crosby there.
That was probably fair.
They trained together all off season. They, hanger
CrossFit buddies.
Tim Hortons commercial guys.
Yep. Wonder if they're wearing a disguise against Germany. Hey,
Ooh.
who is that guy?
Who is that guy? Yeah, so that'll be interesting. So that's coming up, and we'll see how that goes. Like I said, round 2 starts tonight. I want to thank Carter McDougall for joining us here tonight. Great having you. Thank you for all your service to the Stratford Hunter Steel Warriors in the two years you were there. Hope to see you at the rink this upcoming season. If you come to the rink, come on up to the booth, and we'll have a chat. It was always good. Carter coming on the bus, he always had a smile on his face because we used to, anytime we were going that way, he'd pick him up in London. And he'd always have a smile on his face and be happy.
I try to, but sometimes after games,
After games, you just didn't talk to him because
Yeah.
he had that look on his lip.
Well, I remember after game 2 in Chatham, I was walking out and I heard you say something, and I said it's okay, we'll get it. He's just I'm going, that was a rough game for him. I totally understood. Like I said, riding the bus with you guys this year was great because you guys, great bunch of kids. Nothing but the best. I will see you May 24th. That's right.
At the awards banquet.
Well,
And let's face it, he's a goalie. They're weird. God bless him. You can't have a game without him.
Chase Furlong, he got his hair all dyed. And then he put 31 in the back of his hair and got that. Yeah, he's a weird, great kid.
Yeah.
Weird. Carter had the mohawk going.
That's right.
And I said when they come out that game and they got the white old retro jerseys on, he pulls his helmet off and going, oh no.
Yeah.
But
Was
it
that Mama Pruitt? What did she say when she saw that?
She's past the point with my hair. I'm usually doing something stupid or getting a buzz cut. So
Yeah, I
she's past
remember
that
those
point.
days where you just kind of had to let it happen when your kids get to that age. It's like, oh, we're wearing an earring now. Okay. Oh, you did that with your hair, did you? You know, I remember when my kid had his hair down to his shoulder when he was going all Neanderthal when he was at University of Western. So
Yeah. And I hope to see your brother back again next year in
Yeah.
St. Mary's, and
Hopefully.
maybe next year we can get him to come on the
Yeah,
podcast.
maybe, hopefully.
yeah, we're calling you out, man. On air, we're calling your brother out. Get your butt on this podcast.
We were looking forward to it, Chase, but like I said, thank you, Carter. Brian, you got any last words before we head out here?
No, I'm just looking forward to getting round 2 started tonight. And, like what Les said, thanks for coming on. You did a great job. And, now you got that other thing over top of your brother. Say, I was on the Armchair Chirpers, man. You chickened out.
All right. I'll be back next week with Razor. Brian's away. We're getting down to the end of it. We got to find a cutoff point eventually because we're running out of things to talk about because the Jays are just not interesting to talk about at the moment. All right. It's okay not to be okay. Just start the conversation. Have a good night, folks.
Peace.
Always gets mine.